They handed her my invitation. The same ivory paper I helped pick out, Sophia's wedding save the date, to my ex-fiancé, the one who said we lacked chemistry 6 months ago. I smiled at the mailman. I thanked him. I closed the door and felt my world collapse in absolute silence. My name is Grace. I'm 29. And I've been quiet long enough. The save the date arrived on a Tuesday. Cream cardstock, elegant font, Sophia's name intertwined with Marcus's. The man who'd looked me in the eyes 6 months ago and said we just didn't have that spark anymore. Who'd packed his things while I was at work, leaving only a note about needing space. I turned the card over in my hands. Such expensive paper for such cheap betrayal. The first crack came when I opened Instagram. There they were, Marcus and Sophia. At some vineyard. The timestamp made my stomach drop. 3 weeks before he broke up with me. While I was planning our future, he was building his with her, photo after photo. My sister's manicured hand showing off a ring. The ring we'd looked at together, Marcus and I, before everything fell apart. Mom's revelation hid at her kitchen table 2 days later. She stirred sugar into her coffee, casual as death. I'm so glad Sophia finally chose someone worthy of the family name, she said, not looking up. Marcus has such good connections. Chose, like she'd been shopping. Like I'd been returned merchandise. You knew, I said. Mom's spoon clinked against porcelain. Sophia needs stability. You're more independent. Free-spirited. Free-spirited. Their code for disposable confirmed my attendance that afternoon. Simple checkmark, no personal note. But I also created a folder on my phone, evidence. Screenshot after screenshot, each time-stamped, each another nail in their perfect coffin. The contempt in my family's voices was becoming clearer. But contempt could be a gift. It showed you exactly where you stood. And from where I stood, I could see everything they thought they'd hidden. The engagement party came 3 weeks later. I arrived wearing the dress I'd bought for my own engagement celebration, the one that never happened. Grace, thank God, Sophia swept over in champagne silk. Could you handle the welcome table? You're so good with details. Details. Like I was hired help. Like I wasn't the sister who'd taught her to French braid her hair. I smiled and took my post. Guest after guest walked past me like furniture. Invisible. Useful. Forgotten. But furniture sees everything, hears everything, and no one expects it to remember. The first crack came from Marcus's future father-in-law. I was refilling champagne when I heard him talking to a potential investor. We had concerns about Marcus's previous entanglement, he said, voice low but not low enough. Sweet girl, but not our caliber. Wrong family background. Wrong family background. I was Sophia's sister, but apparently the discount version. Cousin Danny, 3 drinks deep, cornered me by the coat check. Grace, I always wondered about the timing, he slurred. Sophia was asking about Marcus way before your breakup. Christmas dinner, remember? Christmas. While I made his favorite dessert, my sister made her move. During a quiet moment, David, Marcus's younger brother, approached me. He'd always been the gentle one, the family's conscience. You seem different tonight, he said carefully. Are you okay with all this? I studied his face. Genuine concern, not pity. Why wouldn't I be? Because if someone did this to me, I'd be planning something terrible. He smiled sadly. But you're stronger than I am. I filed that away. David saw what others missed. He might be useful later. The memory of each cruel comment was building pressure behind a dam. Soon, something would have to give way. The dress fitting was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. Sophia's appointment, but I was expected to attend. Family support, Mom called it. The boutique was full of Sophia's new social circle, 6 women. With the right connections, proper breeding, appropriate bank accounts. They sipped champagne while Sophia emerged in her gown. The dress was stunning. Off-white silk with intricate beadwork, costing more than most people's cars. She looked radiant. Victorious. "What do you think, Grace?" she asked, turning to face me directly. I opened my mouth to offer something supportive, but she wasn't finished. "I mean, you were always more about personality than looks anyway. Some people need fashion to feel special. Others just accept what works." The seamstress cleared her throat. The bridal party exchanged glances. But Sophia kept performing. "Marcus always said you were just a phase anyway. You know how men get. They date down before they settle up." Just a phase. The room went quiet except for champagne bubbles breaking. Someone's phone buzzed. I felt something crack inside me, not my heart, that was already broken. Something harder. Something that had been holding me back. "You're right," I said, voice steady. "Phases are temporary. But they leave marks." Sophia's smile faltered for just a moment. While they discussed hemlines, I stepped outside. The seamstress followed me. "Your sister mentioned you're in the wedding party," she said quietly. "I could add a small pocket to your dress. Somewhere discreet. Sometimes women like to carry something meaningful." I thought about what I might need to carry. "Make it big enough for a phone," I said. She nodded like she understood exactly what kind of wedding this was going to be. The rehearsal dinner was held at the country club. I sat at the family table, positioned between elderly relatives, seats reserved for people who needed to be included but not centered. Marcus stood to give his speech, thanking everyone by name. The wedding party, the parents, vendors, even servers. Everyone except me. I sat 6 feet away, invisible as always. I especially want to thank the Hartwell family for raising such an exceptional daughter. Sophia is everything a man could want. Everything, while I was apparently nothing, but invisibility had advantages. People dropped their guards around invisible women. During a bathroom break, I overheard the wedding planner talking to someone on her phone in the hallway. "The scholarship presentation is crucial," Maria was saying. "If the ceremony goes perfectly, the Hartwell Foundation gets the education grant. But any disruption means the board pulls funding. Not a business deal. Something worse, a charity scholarship that would help dozens of students." Hanging on their perfect performance. Back in the dining room, I watched David across the table. He caught my eye and mouthed, "You okay?" I nodded, but something in my expression made him excuse himself. He found me on the terrace 5 minutes later. "What's wrong?" he asked. "David, what happens if tomorrow doesn't go perfectly? If something disrupts the ceremony?" His face paled. "The foundation grant gets pulled. 30 kids lose their college funding." He paused. "Why?" I was quiet for a long moment. I found something. About Marcus and Sophia. About why they really got together. "Show me." I pulled out my phone, showed him the time-stamped photos, the evidence I'd been collecting. "Jesus, Grace. This is, I don't want to hurt innocent people," I said. "But I won't be erased quietly either." David stared at the photos. "What do you need?" The rupture was coming. Tomorrow, everyone would see that quiet didn't mean powerless. The night before the wedding, they kicked me out of the bridal suite. "It's better this way," Mom said, not meeting my eyes. "Sophia needs space to prepare mentally." I stood in the hotel hallway at 11 p.m., holding my garment bag, watching my family disappear behind mahogany doors. The lock clicked with finality. It was raining. The kind of downpour that turns everything to watercolor, blurring edges until you can't tell where one thing ends and another begins. Sat in my car in the parking lot, my bridesmaid dress hanging like a ghost in the back window. My phone buzzed with a bank notification. $4,200 charged to my credit card. Presidential suite upgrade for the happy couple. I called the hotel manager. Your sister said you'd approved the suite upgrade as your wedding gift, he said cheerfully. She has your card on file for emergencies. Emergencies, like needing better lighting for Instagram photos. I'd like to dispute this charge, I said. Of course, but the suite will be automatically downgraded, and we'll have to cancel the premium services. That includes the enhanced audio system for the ceremony. Cancel it. All of it? Everything. At 1 a.m., I was still in my car, watching rain streak the windshield. The save the date sat on my dashboard, getting damp, its elegant script starting to blur. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was just a phase, a placeholder, the warm-up act before the real show, but as I sat there, something shifted. The invitation. Peeled away from the dashboard and pressed against the glass, Sophia's name distorting in the rain. Suddenly, I was laughing, not happy laughter. The kind that comes when you realize you've been playing a game where everyone else knew the rules. Except you. My phone rang. David. Grace, there's panic upstairs. The audio system's down, and they can't get the microphones working properly. That's unfortunate. You did this. I stopped paying for my own humiliation. He was quiet. What happens now? I looked at the blurred invitation against my windshield, at my reflection caught between the hotel and the storm. Now they find out what happens when phases turn into eclipses. Wedding morning dawned clear, as if the storm had washed everything clean for what was coming. Arrived exactly on time, wearing my sage green dress with its secret pocket. The bridal party was in controlled chaos. Without the premium audio. The microphones kept cutting out during sound checks. Grace. Maria rushed over. Thank God. We need someone to coordinate with the tech team. Still the helpful sister. Still invisible until they needed something fixed. Of course, I said. The ceremony began with crackling speakers and intermittent audio. During the processional, I activated the voice memo app on my phone and slipped it into the podium's built-in amplifier port, a trick I'd learned from David, who'd mentioned it during our terrace conversation. The first revelation came during the vows. Instead of Marcus's prepared speech, the speakers crackled to life with old audio from my phone, Sophia's voice from a restaurant dinner months ago, when she thought I was in the bathroom. Marcus is perfect for what I need. The family. Connections, the business contacts. Plus, Grace is so pathetic, she'll never see it coming. The congregation stirred. Whispers rippled through the pews. Sophia's face went white. The pastor, confused, gestured for the audio to stop. But it continued. I just have to wait for the right moment to make my move. She's so trusting, it's almost sad. The second wave came from security footage I'd accessed through the venue's guest Wi-Fi, time-stamped videos of Marcus and Sophia in compromising positions. Displayed on the ceremony's projection screen via anonymous upload, the church fell completely silent except for the damning evidence playing in high definition. Marcus's face was fury and panic. The foundation board members, watching via live stream, were leaning forward with sharp concern. I stood at the altar, no longer a bridesmaid but something else entirely. The woman who'd been erased from the story, writing herself back in with permanent ink. Grace, Sophia whispered. What did you do? I looked at her, really looked, for the first time in months. I didn't do anything, I said quietly. I just stopped hiding what you did. The foundation representatives were already ending their video call. Marcus's father was on his phone, probably trying to salvage what remained of their reputation, but I wasn't watching them anymore. I was walking down the aisle, past the flowers I'd helped arrange, past the family that had discarded me, past the life that had never really been mine. Some stories don't end with reconciliation. Some end with truth. I hadn't brought a +1 to the wedding. I'd brought justice. *3 weeks later, Sophia posted a long Instagram story about forgiveness and moving forward. The comments were brutal. Screenshots had gone viral with #wedding-scammer and #sister-betrayal. Didn't read the post. I deleted all social media the day after the wedding. Instead, I was standing on the pedestrian bridge downtown, watching sunset paint the city gold. The save the date was in my hand, worn soft from being carried like a talisman. My phone buzzed. Another message from Mom, begging me to make a statement to help repair the family's reputation. I'd stopped reading them after the first dozen. A bank notification chimed. The foundation had quietly transferred a settlement to my account. Apparently, they wanted to avoid any legal complications. The amount was substantial. I opened my banking app and transferred half to a non-profit supporting women leaving toxic relationships. The transaction felt like signing my freedom. A breeze caught the invitation in my hand, lifting it toward the electronic billboard across the street. The paper fluttered like a white flag, drifting directly across the neon subscribe sign. For a moment, it looked like the invitation was part of the advertisement. The universe's sense of humor. My phone rang one last time. Sophia's number. Grace? Her voice was small, broken. I need to talk to you. No, I said simply. You don't. Please. The scholarship fund is gone. 30 kids lost their college money. Because of what you did, I corrected. I just made sure people knew. Silence stretched between us. I don't know who I am without all of this, she whispered. That's the difference between us, I said. I had to learn who I was without any of it. I hung up and bought a plane ticket. One way, destination undecided. At the airport, I thought about phases. Marcus had been right, I was a phase in his life. But phases aren't interruptions. Sometimes they're transformations. The boarding announcement echoed through the terminal. I shouldered my carry-on, everything I needed now fit in one bag. The plane lifted off into sunset. Below, the city grew smaller until even the largest buildings looked like toys. Pressed my forehead against the window. For the first time in my life, I was the author of my own story. Some endings aren't really endings. They're new beginnings. 3 weeks later, Sophia posted a long Instagram story about forgiveness and moving forward. The comments were brutal. Screenshots had gone viral with #wedding-scammer and #sister-betrayal. Didn't read the post. I deleted all social media the day after the wedding. Instead, I was standing on the pedestrian bridge downtown, watching sunset paint the city gold. The save the date was in my hand, worn soft from being carried like a talisman. My phone buzzed. Another message from Mom, begging me to make a statement to help repair the family's reputation. I'd stopped reading them after the first dozen. A bank notification chimed. The foundation had quietly transferred a settlement to my account. Apparently, they wanted to avoid any legal complications. The amount was substantial. I opened my banking app and transferred half to a non-profit supporting women leaving toxic relationships. The transaction felt like signing my freedom. A breeze caught the invitation in my hand, lifting it toward the electronic billboard across the street. The paper fluttered like a white flag, drifting directly across the neon subscribe sign. For a moment, it looked like the invitation was part of the advertisement. The universe's sense of humor. My phone rang one last time. Sophia's number. Grace? Her voice was small, broken. I need to talk to you. No, I said simply. You don't. Please. The scholarship fund is gone. 30 kids lost their college money. Because of what you did, I corrected. I just made sure people knew. Silence stretched between us. I don't know who I am without all of this, she whispered. That's the difference between us, I said. I had to learn who I was without any of it. I hung up and bought a plane ticket. One way, destination undecided. At the airport, I thought. About phases. Marcus had been right, I was a phase in his life. But phases aren't interruptions. Sometimes they're transformations. The boarding announcement echoed through the terminal. I shouldered my carry-on, everything I needed now fit in one bag. The plane lifted off into sunset. Below, the city grew smaller until even the largest buildings looked like toys. Pressed my forehead against the window. For the first time in my life, I was the author of my own story. Some endings aren't really endings. They're new beginnings.